So Seth Rogen was out doing the press junket for his new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles film. You know, the one where they changed April from a gorgeous, sexy redhead into a fat, ugly black chick? Yeah, that's the one. However, that wasn't brought up or covered in the least bit. Nope. This is a real softball, but he had some rather interesting things to say about the critics of all things. Alright, real quick, while I've got your attention, please do me a big favor. Hit that subscribe button plus the notification icon, as well as like the video. It does help out a lot. It's cheap, it's free. You guys know the drill. Now, Seth was on the Diary of a CEO podcast, and he was fed up a couple of softball questions, finally culminating with, hey, what do you think of the critics and how that makes people feel? This is what he had to say. Oh yeah, it hurts everyone. Very much so. I think if most critics knew how much it hurt the people that made the things that they are writing about, they would second guess the way they write these things. I gotta break in here. There's more to the quote, and I'll get to it in a moment, but this is jaw-dropping because he seems to not understand what the word critique means. It means to be critical of, to criticize. These critics are commenting and breaking down a work in a critical way. That could be good. That could be bad. In the case of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, bad, but that's the name of the game. That is their job. That is their function. They are not supposed to take into consideration the thoughts and feelings of the people who made the product. They are supposed to critique the product. Ultimately, there are those near the top that are responsible for the product. Basically, writer and director. Sometimes producers are much more involved than they should be. I understand that there's hundreds of people associated with the project, but at the end of the day, those 2 or 3 are pretty much at the top. So when something is critiqued, those people need to take notice. Instead of getting butthurt and crying and seeking out a safe space and all those stupid buzzwords, they need to take to heart, not individually, but on the whole, what the critics are saying and, far more importantly, what the people consuming the product are saying with their dollars. Now, let's get back to the final thing that he has to say on this. It's devastating. I know people who never recover from it, honestly, years, decades of being hurt. It's very personal. It's devastating when you are being institutionally told that your personal expression was bad. That is like devastating and something that people carry with them literally their entire lives. Alright, if your skin is so thin that a critique of your product sends you spiraling or makes you depressed, or is something you dwell on for the rest of your life, for years, months, heck, for even more than a day, you have a serious problem and you do not belong in this industry. I mean, it's 101 in Hollywood that you have to have a thick skin. Guess what, Seth? At one point in time, you had a thick skin. You had to have to get to the level you are today. Face rejection, to face critique, face insult, brush it off, and move forward with what your ideas and visions are. And in all honesty, seriously, I think that this is not the Seth Rogan of old. And I say that primarily because some of you might remember the film The Interview. If you haven't, look it up. And don't look necessarily up the film. It's a good film. I'm not dismissing it. But the swirl and tornadoes around it is, I think, what affected him. And if you take a look at all the product that came out after that, you'll see kind of what I'm talking about. Real quick, in a nutshell, he made a nice series of very irreverent, very funny comedies, many insulting. You know, he was a writer for a couple episodes of the Ali G show. And then The Interview hits, where basically he makes fun of the leader at the time of North Korea, Kim Jong-un, and death threats from the government of North Korea start coming in, boycotts. It gets to a level where Sony Pictures is hacked. It's ugly, and Sony cowers. They pull his film. It did not get released theatrically. You can find it, I hope you can find it streaming, but it rattled it. And I suspect that there was probably death threats and things of that nature centered on him far more than the news media knew or ever covered. I'm sure the federal government got involved. But he's been very, very cautious after that. Additionally, with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles specifically, he's doing something for Disney, so he has to make it ultra woke in order to get them to cut the check. But again, that wasn't brought up, that wasn't covered. This was all about critiques and how he just can't take it. And Seth, as they say, if you can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen. That's my view on things. Curious to know what yours is? Let's talk about it. Obey your king. Subscribe to the channel and click the notification icon.